This is CBS 12 News at 3.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on the CBS 12 News at 3. I am Luli Ortiz. Well, breaking news in the nation's capital, a win for the Biden administration as the House just passed his $1.9 trillion stimulus package. Now, this deal heads to the president's desk this week for signature. Now, it is included in the bill an extension of the federal unemployment benefits at $300 a week, money to help schools reopen, increased vaccine distribution, and support for state and local governments. Now, it also includes a tax credit of up to $3,600 per child. This immediate focus is on increasing vaccine distribution to reach as many people as possible. After the president's signature, the next round of checks can be expected later this month. And President Biden is expected to hold a news conference in minutes addressing the recent partnership of drug maker Merck and Johnson & Johnson to produce COVID vaccines. And he will most likely comment on the passage of this bill as well. And we will bring it to you live when it begins. Meanwhile, with more people now qualifying to get the vaccine, it's leading to some confusion as far as where to go and where to get it as well. CBS 12's Kara Duffy explains what you need to know before you show up to your next appointment.
Certainly a lot of information to take in, and depending on your profession and age, well, it could determine where you can go to sign up to get the shot. As we know, next week, the state will be lowering the age eligibility for a vaccine from 65 and older to 60 and up. The governor has also already opened up vaccinations to law enforcement, first responders, and school employees 50 years and older. Now, this is separate from the federal directive giving the green light for all school staff and child care workers to get vaccinated regardless of their age. So let's say you're a 40-year-old teacher. You'd have two options on the table as of right now as far as where you could go. One, go to a federally supported vaccination site. Depending on where you live, the closest one could be in Miami or Orlando for people who live along the Treasure Coast. The other option here, book an appointment through a pharmacy taking part in the federal retail pharmacy program like a Publix or CVS. The CDC has posted a full breakdown on their website listing the pharmacies state by state that are participating in the program. We've posted a link to that on our website, CBS12.com. Just click under the newscast link section. That should help narrow down what your options are depending on your eligibility. Reporting in West Palm Beach, I'm Kara Duffy, CBS 12 News.
Now, two Boca Raton mothers are taking another job as vaccine hunters. They're tracking down leftover doses across South Florida so none of those shots rather ends up in the trash. Stacy LaBelle and Melissa Cohen, they paired up after weeks of questioning what pharmacies and large corporations were doing with their leftover doses. Now, the two put together a distribution list, which now has over 2,700 people from across South Florida signed up and eagerly waiting to be matched with a COVID-19 distributor who happens to have leftover vaccines. Now, the duo says that they've reached out to everyone from big corporate pharmacies to local churches, community groups, and government sites daily. Now, their efforts started just 6 weeks ago, and now they have helped 400 people gain access to leftover vaccines.
So the providers will call us and say, hey, we have 15 leftovers. I need people here at 5:30. And we'll go through our database and match up the people that they're asking for. So you're not having 20,000 people show up from an announcement on Facebook or on the internet or Twitter. We're making it so that it's manageable.
And their website is called leftovervaccinehunters.com, and anyone can sign up, and distributors of the vaccines like patients alike. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention will not be issuing updated travel guidance just yet. The agency says that it will come once more people are vaccinated against the coronavirus. And the CDC recommends that people avoid air travel if they can. And that brings us to our question of the day. With COVID-19 restrictions being lifted, what are you most comfortable doing? You could choose from going out to eat inside a restaurant to traveling on a full airplane. You could answer that on CBS12.com. Turning now to weather The winds continue to whip up here across South Florida. Let's turn things over to Chief Meteorologist Vitas Reed. Hey, Vitas.
Hey, Lily. It has been a windy day out there. We've seen breezy conditions across the state, and we're holding on to that as we've gone through the afternoon. But taking a look at our current conditions, we're seeing those temperatures in the 70s, getting into the 80s as you're over towards Fort Myers. A little warmer there on the western edge of the state. Naples, 80 degrees, 75. Stewart looking at West Palm at 78. A little bit of rain down in Miami is the cool spot. Only 72 degrees with some showers and even a rumble of thunder. As we're looking at storm track radar, you can see that we're getting that onshore flow, and most of that activity is down south of Fort Lauderdale. We have this area of high pressure that's going to continue to bring breezy conditions down across the state. But not only that, we are seeing those showers that are possible. We could get maybe a 20% chance for a shower in our viewing area, but most of this activity has been down south of the region. So we're seeing most of the rain concentrated over Miami-Dade County and down towards southern Broward. But around here, we're just seeing a few light sprinkles west of Boca, and we'll continue to see that break up through the evening. But keeping an eye to the sky with those winds have been steady, anywhere from about 15 to 20, gusting up to about 25, and we'll continue to hold on to those winds as we're heading into this next couple of days here. Now, the good news is temperatures are warming up. I'll show you how warm we'll get coming up for the weekend. Back to you, Lily.
Out of the Treasure Coast, the Indian River County Sheriff's Office says a Facebook Live put at least one man behind bars in Vero Beach. Deputies say a video was posted of Willie Lee Hicks in possession of a gun. And the problem, he is a convicted felon. Now, deputies say that he also made a threat to business owners. And when he was arrested, he told deputies that he did not plan to act on any threat. Investigators identified the second man in the video, and more charges are pending. Now to Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputies arresting this man after one of their squad cars was vandalized. Now that suspect later confessed to the crime. That's according to deputies. He was booked on charges of damage to property and criminal mischief. And an 18-year-old is behind bars after facing a burglary charge after deputies arrested him just minutes after he popped up on a victim's security camera. The Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office says that Mason Dorsley, he tried to steal $25, a chair there that's worth $25 from a home on North D Street in Lake Worth Beach. This happened Monday afternoon. The victim told deputies that the suspect had been in the yard 3 or 4 times before, and he was caught on video casing that house. CBS 12 News is the only local station that lets you track crime in your neighborhood. You could head to CBS12.com, look under the news tabs, and make sure to click on Alert Nest. Coming up at 3, a big announcement from Goldman Sachs, how they are planning to help Black women business owners. And next, dementia drugs are supposed to help with memory deterioration, but some researchers now say that they claim to have the opposite effect. We'll explain.
You're watching CBS 12 News at 3.
Well, new today, Sprouts Farmers Market is opening its first location in Port St. Lucie. The grocery store will be along St. Lucie West Boulevard. This is just east of I-95. And there is no grand opening date scheduled yet, but the company plans to open sometime this year. Now, this would be the second Sprouts on the Treasure Coast. The first one opened in Stewart last October. CBS 12 News, keeping an eye on your health this afternoon. Many dementia patients are taking drug combinations that can actually contribute to memory loss and increase the risk of injury and death. Now, that's according to the University of Michigan. They did a study there, and they found that nearly 14% of the patients are on 3 or more medications that act on the brain and nervous system. And experts say that that exceeds recommended guidelines. And people who report less physical activity during the pandemic experience poorer or physical and mental health. A new international study finds that reduced exercise can actually lead to perceptions of weight gain and decreased sleep, plus personal and emotional problems. And researchers, they recommend incorporating physical activity whenever possible. And smart speakers can actually do more than just hear us talk. Researchers at the University of Washington, they found that they can also detect heart rhythm. And here's how it works. A person stands just 1 or 2 feet from the speaker, and then it plays an audible continuous sound which bounces off the person and then returns to the speaker. The device can then detect movements like the rise and fall of a person's chest as they breathe. Interesting. We'll still ahead at 3. Jury selection started a day late in the Derek Chauvin murder trial. Next, we look at how many have been seated so far and how long it takes.
And looking at windy conditions out there, anywhere from 15 to 20 mile an hour sustained. As you can see from the palm trees blowing in the wind, a lot of the surfers, windsurfers out there really enjoying the waves. But it looks like we'll see those temperatures actually increasing towards the weekend coming up in my forecast.
Radio stations, proud sponsors of the CBS 12 News Network, the one to turn to.
But so far, 4 jurors were seated in the murder trial of ex-Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Now he's charged in the killing of George Floyd last May. And Chauvin, he was seen kneeling on Floyd's neck just for several minutes. Now 12 jurors and 4 alternates need to be seated before this trial can begin. And that should take about 3 weeks. And joining us today to talk about the trial is defense and civil and federal litigation attorney Lakai Vinson. And thank you so much for joining us. Can you first explain why will it take so long to seat a jury?
Yeah, so thank you for having me. So throughout this year and last year, we have dealt with an international pandemic that has allowed all of us to take a moment, sit down, move from our busy lives that keep us running all around and watch a man die on national TV. And we've seen it over and over and over again on social media and other news outlets. This causes concern for both the prosecution and the defense because they're trying to find impartial and unbiased members of the jury to seat. The likelihood that each one of them have seen video, pictures, or heard about this has created some sort of idea as to where they fall, either guilty or not guilty, as it relates to the defendant, Chauvin, in this case. So they have to find someone that is unbiased, and so it takes a crucial amount of time to do that. Also, we have the pandemic going on. And with that being said, they have to take extreme and extra protocols that they would not have to take normally, given the fact that they're concerned that they could have an outbreak of some sort if they have all jury members or potential jury members in the courtroom at the same time. So they have to be very careful about how they move it forward with that in mind.
And I want to go to the charges now. A third-degree murder charge could be back on the table. What does this mean?
So we know that there is the second-degree manslaughter that's on the table, and that's when Chauvin acted negligent, and that negligence caused Floyd's death. We also have the second-degree murder, unintentional. They have to show that there was a felony assault committed by Chauvin, and that resulted in Floyd's death. But when you think about third-degree manslaughter, you think about situations where a shooter is shooting into a moving train, and it results in someone dying as a result of that. It's not geared at one individual, but it's just shooting recklessly and causing imminent danger to a number of people, and someone dies as a result of that. Well, putting it back on the table gives the prosecution another bite at the apple. Now they have 3 possible places to convict Chauvin as opposed to 2. So they certainly want it back on the table.
And we also learned that testimony into what type of training that he was allowed to have. What will this do with this case?
Well, the prosecution has the burden to prove has to prove the case. And so with them having to prove the case, the defense gets to challenge it by showing how Chauvin was, the way he was trained, and whether or not it violates police protocol. So having that training in there, it shows and determines whether or not Chauvin, in fact, followed police protocol and conduct. And so therefore, they've not proved their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
All right, we do appreciate that. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon as jury selection is underway in that trial. Thank you so much.
Thank you.